Now that the Skywalker saga has concluded, the Star Wars franchise can move in any direction and there are hundreds of ideas that they can come up with for future movies, comics, and video games. However, there are also loads of ideas from Star Wars Legends which we can see brought forward into canon, like we've seen before with the likes of Grand Admiral Thrawn and Death Troopers. Just before I get started, I want to say that this is completely my own opinion, and you may disagree with some of my thoughts and opinions, and if so, then that's great, and let me know in the comments what you would like to see brought into canon or why you disagree with me. So with that said, here is in no particular order 5 things I would like to see brought over from Legends into canon, with one honourable mention at the end. Number 1. Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is one of the best Star Wars stories told outside of the movies, and produced one of the best and most beloved Legends character ever, Darth Revan. And when I say I want Knights of the Old Republic to be canon, I don't necessarily mean I want this exact version of the game to be brought into canon. If they were to remake the game and change it to fit into current canon, I wouldn't mind it in the same way they rewrote the Thrawn trilogy. And while I don't think it's necessary, it would be nice if they could touch up on the old game. As much as I love the plot twist of the player character being revealed to be Darth Revan, I would like it if they gave him more personality in the game. The playable character in Knights of the Old Republic 2 fits the more play the way you like style, but I would like to see Revan maybe be voice acted and have some dialogue choices touched up on. Just to sort of give the game a new feeling, a new edge, maybe add new side quests. You know, I think the main story can just be kept the same, nothing needs to be changed there. I think there's just a few background things and minor things that need to be touched up on to make it even better than it was the first time. And I would like this to go much further than Knights of the Old Republic. I would like to see the whole time period of the Old Republic be brought forward in canon. The next major time period we're currently getting is the High Republic era, and I think that it looks pretty interesting, but after this I hope they go back even further. It is said that Darth Maul was the first Sith that the Jedi have faced in 1,000 years, so we won't be getting any Sith action in the High Republic. So why don't we go back before then, and before the Rule of Two, and have a time period where there were hundreds of Jedi fighting hundreds of Sith in all-out open war. Being able to see the Republic in its early days forming to take on an early version of the Sith Empire, you can delve into so many potential story arcs and characters. If for some reason you haven't seen the Old Republic MMO trailers, then you're seriously missing out on some of the coolest looking action scenes in all of Star Wars. Just take a look at some of these clips I've chosen that sum up the entire Old Republic era. Even if the MMO didn't capture the same feeling, these just sum up that time period.
Now, time is running out, as few are left to face the enemy. For those that remain, there is but one choice. We must fight to victory or death for the Republic!
You could also cover things such as the Mandalorian Wars, and having a game or a movie series about Revan defying the Jedi Council to go and fight the Mandalorians. Number 2. Starkiller. I know that Vader's secret apprentice has a lot of fans divided, but I personally really liked his character arc. Yes, I think he is ridiculously overpowered, and if brought into canon they would have to tone him down, but they should still keep him a strong character and menacing depending on which version they were to go for. Whether it be the redeemed Jedi or the terrifying Sith Master, either version of Starkiller would work great in canon. I'm not sure I like the idea of him being Vader's apprentice in canon, and while it worked in Legends, I've seen fan-made art of Starkiller as the new Grand Inquisitor, and I think this would be a really good way to go forward. Some different ways you could take it is that he stays the villain and doesn't redeem himself, similar to the Force Unleashed DLC, or you could have him return to the light and turn against Vader and the Inquisition. And while it may be difficult to place him in canon during the time period where there are no Jedi, you can easily place him into the sequel timeline. In the Star Wars Insider magazine, The Last Jedi Special, it is revealed that Snoke had trained at least one other apprentice before Kylo Ren, and you could easily make this Starkiller, and while it may not have the same impact as Vader being the one who betrays you, I think it would be a great way to use Sam Witwer in a potential film or even a new video game. His work as Darth Maul in Rebels and Clone Wars has been amazing, but it doesn't feel like we'll be getting much more of Maul action anytime soon, so why not bring him on future projects in this way? Number 3. Kyle Catan. Kyle Catan has one of the coolest stories in Star Wars. He started off as an Imperial stormtrooper who defected from the Empire, he stole the Death Star plans, became a Jedi, fell to the dark side, returned to the light, and ended up serving on Luke's Jedi Council. While this is a great story, it's pretty hard to fit him into canon at the moment. The Death Star plans have already been stolen and were revealed in Rogue One, so he could have been slotted into that film, but obviously it's too late for that now. And as for the Jedi Council, we all know what happened with that, with Ben Solo and Snoke and everything. So I can't really see him putting him in there because it would be really used as much. There may have been a place for him in Rebels at one point, but since the show's cancellation, that's definitely not happening. But there have been rumours that they may be making a sequel to Rebels. If that follows Sabine and Ahsoka searching for Ezra post-Return of the Jedi, then that could be a way to introduce him into the current canon, and you could tell some pretty cool stories with him there. Number 4, Republic Commando. This one is technically a cop-out because Republic Commandos are currently canon, but I feel like we don't see enough of them in the universe. We get to see about 30 seconds of Delta Squad in Clone Wars, and we get to see Gregor for an episode of Clone Wars and a few times in Rebels. And while you get to play as him in Battlefront 2, I feel like it underplays the strengths of the Republic Commando. I would like to see either a new Republic Commando game or a Disney Plus series around Delta Squad. A video game which turns these soldiers into special forces and used on high-end Republic missions would be amazing. Think old Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six games, but with a Star Wars narrative. Maybe Delta Squad have to rescue a senator from Trandoshan slavers, or destroy a secret separatist war machine. Along with perhaps side ops that allow characters to interact with the many worlds and species of Star Wars. Maybe you're on Kashyyyk, you can use the jungles to your advantage and turn it into a stealth operation, but if you're on Nar Shaddaa you have to use criminal organisations and bribes to get the information on your targets. A TV series would work just as well, as each member of Delta Squad has a specific personality and skill set, making them all stand out from one another. And I think given a series where they all have to complete several high-end operations for Chancellor Palpatine to help further his agendas in the war would add to the plot, especially if you were to centre an episode or two around Order 66 and have Delta Squad end up forming into the Imperial Commandos and hunting down Jedi, or have them remove their inhibitor chips like Gregor and join the Rebel Alliance like Rex, Wolf and Gregor did. Number 5, the Tales series. Mos Eisley, Jabba's Palace, Bounty Hunters. The Tales series probably isn't what you think of when you think of great Star Wars content, but in my opinion, it manages to capture everything about the Star Wars universe during the time period of the Galactic Civil War. The films follow the Skywalker saga, and while that is amazing, hearing stories of bounty hunters and scum and villainy is just great, and I think it's something that Disney Plus series would suit perfectly. An anthology series where maybe we actually get to see Boba Fett do something rather than fly into the side of Jabba's sail barge and fall into the Great Pit of Carkoon, to seeing Bossk being the Star Wars equivalent of the Predator, Dengar being in bar fights on Corellia, patrons of the Mos Eisley Cantina who hold more characteristics to them than you think, assassins, mercenaries, explorers, archaeologists, pirates. The possibilities are endless, and how cool would it be to see cult favourite characters or just characters you see in the background of Jabba's palace get a 30 to 40 minute episode of adventures in the Star Wars universe. In my opinion, that would just be really awesome. Finally, my honourable mention, Darth Plagueis. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Well, we have, but it's still a story we don't know too much about. The legendary Sith Lord is a character so well known, but still a blank canvas in which the details we actually know about him. In the Darth Plagueis book, we learn all about his life and career as a Sith Lord, but now it's all non-canon. Having Snoke turn out to be Plagueis would have annoyed a lot of people, but I personally would have quite liked it, as it would have tied the sequel era into the prequels and the original trilogy era. But obviously, Snoke was revealed to be a water tank clone Man-Thing, and as Lord of the Sith remains shadowed in mystery. In the same way they made a remake of the Thrawn trilogy, I would like to see either a remake of the Darth Plagueis book, or something like a comic series, or maybe a movie detailing his events pre-Phantom Menace, as apart from what we learned in episode 3, we literally know nothing about his character. We may get hints and bits and pieces in books, but in my opinion it's not enough to really build a characteristic to him. I could have covered so many different topics, but I feel like these 5, technically 6 things, are the essential things we need to see brought over from Legends into the Star Wars universe. And if you agree to me, like the video to show your support. If you didn't agree with me, let me know why down in the comments. I'm sure I'd love to hear it. Either way, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you, and see you next time.